The sun had just begun to sink, washing the Virginia suburbs in a golden-orange glow as Jacqueline Rhodes guided her silver sedan down a quiet, tree-lined street. She had spent the last 14 hours reviewing threat assessments and preparing strategic protocols, but none of that weighed on her now. All she could think about was slipping out of her heels, reheating last night's meatloaf, and letting the soft hum of a true crime podcast lull her into a rare evening of peace. Jacqueline, 42, wasn't just any commuter heading home. She was the deputy director of the FBI's Richmond field office. The title never left her shoulders, even when she was off-duty. Years of service had carved a natural vigilance into her every movement. She drove with care, not out of nervousness, but precision, keeping the speedometer at a steady 35 miles per hour, signaling with each turn, obeying every traffic law as if she were being watched. Because sometimes she had learned long ago that being a black woman in a position of power came with its own set of unspoken rules. You carried yourself with twice the composure, spoke with thrice the clarity, and operated under the assumption that someone would always question your presence, your worth, even if you outranked them in every possible metric. The road stretched long and smooth ahead, 10 miles from her home in Arlington. Neatly trimmed lawns blurred past, sprinklers glistening in the last light. Jacqueline was already picturing the comfort of her living room when red and blue lights flashed behind her, shattering the tranquility. A police siren gave a quick, sharp burst. The message was clear: pull over. She blinked, her jaw tightening not in fear, but in that old familiar frustration. She hadn't run a light, hadn't changed lanes without signaling, hadn't even accelerated. This wasn't a mistake on her part. She pulled over calmly, the tires crunching over gravel as she reached for the switch and turned on her interior light. Her hands rested plainly on the wheel, visible, open, ready. This was ritual by now, a quiet dance of survival. A young white officer, early 30s at most, approached from behind, flashlight already in hand. His name badge read Officer Eric Danvers. His face was tight with authority, eyes sharp as he leaned into her open window. License and registration, he said, voice flat and devoid of courtesy. Jacqueline kept her voice calm, professional. Of course, officer. Could I ask what the reason is for the stop? Danvers tilted his head, studying her face as though deciphering a puzzle. Your car caught my eye, he replied, his flashlight unwavering. Routine check. Her brow furrowed subtly, but her tone remained composed. Caught your eye? Officer, I've been driving within the speed limit, signaling all turns, staying in my lane. I'd appreciate some clarity on the nature of this stop. Danvers' lips curled, slightly, not a smile, but something smug. I don't need a specific reason to ask for ID. Hand it over. Let's keep this simple. Jacqueline inhaled through her nose. Respectfully, officer, that's not accurate. Virginia law requires reasonable suspicion for a stop. I'm happy to comply, but I'd like to understand why I was pulled over. Danvers leaned in, his voice sharpening. You want to lecture me on law now? You don't get to do that. Either hand over your license or I pull you out of this car. The gravel beneath his boots shifted as he stepped closer, his presence swelling beyond his badge. Jacqueline could feel the air thicken. This wasn't about a traffic violation. This was about control, about her presence in a neighborhood that Officer Danvers clearly thought she didn't belong in. She held out her ID and registration, not passing them through the window yet. I've identified myself. Now I'd like to know what law I violated. If there's none, this interaction is unlawful. Danvers' hand slapped the roof of the car, startling in the silence. Jacqueline flinched slightly, not in fear, but to stop instinct from reacting. She didn't move her hands. She didn't raise her voice. I've done nothing wrong, she repeated. This is not procedure. You're escalating without cause. Danvers' jaw clenched. You think you're above me? You want to play games, ma'am? We'll play. The word ma'am snapped off his tongue like a warning. Then came the sentence that changed everything. Get out of the car. Now, or I'll make you. Jacqueline's pulse ticked faster. Her left hand slowly gestured toward the phone on her dashboard mount. The red recording light blinked. She didn't need to say it. It was already capturing every second. Danvers noticed it too. "You recording me?" he snapped. "I am," she replied, firm. "For my safety." Danvers took a step back, his hand drifting toward his belt. Jacqueline's instincts, honed by decades of law enforcement experience, recognized the shift before the movement happened. He was going for his weapon. Her voice remained steady, even as her heartbeat screamed. "Officer Danvers, do not escalate this. I am not a threat. I am not resisting. I am asking for you to explain your actions under the law." But Danvers didn't pause. With a swift motion, he unholstered his firearm and pointed it through her open window directly at her chest. "Get out," he barked, the rage flooding his voice, the metal of his authority turning dangerous in his hand. "You don't call the shots here." Jacqueline didn't flinch. Her body was steel, her mind sharp. She kept both palms on the wheel. "You're pointing a weapon at an unarmed woman who committed no crime," she said quietly. "You will be held accountable." His finger tightened slightly, but she moved first, not her body, just her voice. Calm, controlled. "My name is Jacqueline Rhodes, Deputy Director of the FBI Richmond Field Office. I am recording this. I am currently calling your superior." Danvers flinched, like the name struck him in the chest. His gun didn't lower, but it wavered. "You're lying," he whispered. "I'm not." She pressed a button on her phone, her eyes never leaving his face. The call connected. "This is Captain Randall from the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office." "Captain, this is Deputy Director Jacqueline Rhodes with the FBI. I'm on Route 7, 10 miles out of Arlington. I've been stopped without cause by Officer Eric Danvers. He has drawn his weapon. I am recording everything." There was silence. Then the captain's voice snapped to attention. "What's your location?" "Mile marker 12, just past the fuel station." Danvers stood frozen, the color draining from his face. The sirens sounded moments later. As the squad car arrived, its lights cutting through the night, Jacqueline remained still. When the sheriff's SUV parked behind Danvers' cruiser, a tall, broad-shouldered man stepped out. "Captain Randall." He stormed forward. "Danvers," he bellowed. "Holster your weapon." Danvers backed off, fumbling the gun into his holster. She was being difficult," he stammered. "She refused to get out. Said she was FBI. I didn't believe her." Randall turned to Jacqueline. "Deputy Director Rhodes?" "Yes. I apologize on behalf of this department. I want this handled properly," she said. "I'm not asking for favors. I'm asking for accountability." Danvers tried to object, but Randall cut him off. "Give me your weapon. Now." Danvers surrendered his firearm, his hands shaking. "I didn't know," he muttered. "You didn't ask," Jacqueline responded. "You assumed, and you aimed a gun at someone for no reason. That's not law enforcement. That's power unchecked." Captain Randall placed Danvers on immediate suspension. Jacqueline handed over the full recording. She drove home that night, her headlights slicing through the stillness, her thoughts spinning not from fear, but from resolve. The next morning, the sheriff's office launched an internal investigation. The video went viral within days. Headlines spread across local and national outlets. FBI Deputy Director held at gunpoint. Traffic stop sparks statewide review. Officer suspended after gun drawn without cause. Danvers' behavior was dissected by legal experts, civil rights advocates, and law enforcement leaders. The footage showed everything: the lack of cause, the aggression, the weapon, the refusal to justify his actions. 3 weeks later, the department's Internal Affairs Board concluded that Danvers had violated multiple policies. Jacqueline's legal team filed a civil rights complaint. Charges followed. The trial took place in Arlington, just miles from where the stop had occurred. Inside the packed courtroom, Jacqueline took the stand. She spoke calmly, clearly, and without embellishment. "I followed every law. I asked for a reason. I was denied one. I was threatened with a weapon. Not because I broke the law, but because he believed I didn't belong." The jury deliberated for just 6 hours before delivering a guilty verdict. Abuse of authority, brandishing a firearm without cause, and racial bias in violation of departmental policy. Danvers was sentenced to 3 years in prison and permanently barred from law enforcement. But Jacqueline didn't stop there. She met with Virginia lawmakers, pushing for mandatory body cams, stricter standards for traffic stops, and advanced de-escalation training. Within 6 months, new laws passed with bipartisan support. Every department in the state was now required to audit traffic stops monthly. She spoke at schools, churches, and community centers. Parents brought their children to meet her. One high school student wrote her a letter. "You didn't just protect yourself. You protected all of us." She framed it. In one quiet evening, months later, Jacqueline drove past mile marker 12 again. The road was still. No lights. No sirens. Just the memory of that night and the knowledge that standing firm had made something better. She wasn't just Deputy Director Jacqueline Rhodes anymore. She was a symbol of resilience. And the road ahead was hers to shape.